Well, hello, welcome once again to Pale Blends and Beyond. Thank you for joining us today. Pete Boynton is a Canadian musician who provided piano, keyboards, organ, and vocals for the rock band Madrigal from 1968 to 1975. They may be remembered for their 1970 single, I Believe in Sunshine. Pete then helped to form the band Red Rider and played on their first two albums from 1979 and 1981. You'll probably remember the hit Lunatic Fringe from 1981. In recent years, Mr. Boynton has added acoustic guitar, bass, and drums to his repertoire and has recorded as Suitepete, that's suite as in a hotel room, S-U-I-T-E, Pete, and his latest incarnation as PeteBo, P-E-T-E-B-O. Well, welcome, Pete.
Ah, hello. It's a great day. It's a beautiful day. Spring day in Canada. Nice, Greg.
All right, great. Yeah, I forgot to mention that me and my wife did take a trip to Vancouver. It was like August or late July here. It's so hot. And went up there and it was like ideal weather. And that was like 20, maybe almost 20 years ago. Yeah. But we enjoyed that as well. So going back to the beginning, were you born in Barrie, Ontario?
No, I was born in Toronto.
Okay, all right. We'll talk about some of your memories of your childhood.
Oh boy. Well, I was born in Toronto, but we lived. My dad was a kind of rising executive type of guy, so we lived all over Ontario for a bunch of years. I suppose when the music thing really hit me was one night after going to visit some friends of my dad and mom. We were driving home in the car, and this must have been about, in those days, the hockey game would end, about 10 o'clock. And I was lying in the back seat of my parents' car, and this music came on the radio, and it was Oscar Peterson.
Oh,
and it was then that I went, I want to play music like that. I love this. It's beautiful. I'll never be as talented as Oscar Peterson at playing piano, but it was just like, oh my God, music can be that beautiful. I want to do that. And like when I was about 14, I was a discovery for opera.
Okay.
When I was living in Toronto, and I got in a couple of operas, and I was like the child lead. I just had a few lines in the opera to sing, but some guy in Toronto discovered me because I was singing in this choir, and he found out, I guess, because he went to everybody in the choir and said, sing these notes. And I was the only one who sang them properly. So he goes, look here. We got a prodigy here.
Prodigy.
And then I got into when we moved back to Toronto, I was just kind of discovered by a guy whose dad had actually the television show after the hockey game for a while. Gary O'Connor wrote many songs for America 38 Special, whole bunch of bands, but his dad had at one point in time the radio show after the hockey game, which is like the most prestigious radio show you could have. So I was discovered like when I was about 14, 15 years old by these guys. And I went and they signed me up to the union, got me special permission. And my first opening gig was opening for the Guess Who at the Key to Bala up in vacation country, just north of here. And I was just so excited. This was my favorite band. They actually had a piece of music, Shaken All Over.
Right, I was going to mention
which
that.
Was just a dynamite piece of music.
Right.
And so I signed up. I'm in the union. I'm a pro musician. I was like 15 years old. And see, one of the funniest things happened on the way to that gig. We got stopped by the police. Me and Gary were driving together up to the gig, and we got stopped by the police, and the policeman said, "Hey, Gary's driving." I didn't have a license. Gary's driving, and the guy asked him for Gary's license. Gary gives him the license, and he says, "Are you any relation to Billy O'Connor?" Billy O'Connor's his dad and has the radio show after the hockey game. Gary says yes. And the guy says, "Oh my God, you were speeding a little bit, but be careful in the future." And he gives him his license back. And we just went to the gig. But if he hadn't been Billy O'Connor's son, we would have had a nice hefty ticket. So,
Wow.
that's my first gigs, and that's, kind of how I got into music. And after that, it's just, playing with everybody, doing everything.
If I'm up in Canada and I get pulled over, I'll be able to be sure and drop Billy O'Connor's name.
Yeah, right. Good luck.
They'll be like, "Who?"
Sure, you can try. Tell him Pete Boynton sent me.
Yeah. Right. There you go.
It's his fault.
It's his fault. Yeah. Okay. Well, what were some of the you mentioned Oscar Peterson? Who were some other musicians or artists that you really started getting into as a teenager?
Probably Van Morrison, mostly guys like that. There was all the soul guys, all the soul songs. When I first started, that's what we played and sang. We didn't play as much rock and roll as a lot of people. Well, we played rock and roll, but we played a lot of soul music out of Detroit and Motown, stuff like that. Yeah. It just grooved, all that stuff, so it's nice to play rock and roll too. But hey, whatever gets you the gigs, at the YMCA.
Okay.
And we had back in those days. How I got the Madrigal thing too is because people would hear that I was starting to write a bit of music. Terrible. I was a terrible writer when I first started, but but everybody knew I had a good voice. And then people said, "Oh, the guy plays piano too." And so I started getting lots of gigs, getting known. And so Greg Hambleton was the guy who wrote "I Believe in Sunshine," which is the first song that I ever sang on that got released across Canada. It did really well. We got some gigs out west and everything like that, and we're pretty happy about being able to travel.
You guys were young, weren't y'all? Like in junior high or high school?
Oh yeah, just not finished high school, definitely.
Yeah,
got this record out, and it was nice. It was really pretty sappy song. I don't know if you'll recall it, but it was "She's a Sunshine Girl."
It's
from the early morning light. Anyhow, I didn't
very sunshine pop. A nice
it was just
it is.
Bubblegum music is what we call it.
Yes, it really is. It really is.
Yeah. And thanks to Greg, we were, he got us into it and got us around a little bit playing gigs. And after that, I remember that we were living on a farm being a bunch of hippies, and in the end of that, and then I had to move back to the city and get some gigs, and play and make some money. So I did that and played with a few different bar bands, and then started working on writing and trying to be a real artist after that.
So Greg was your manager, is that right?
No, Greg was the record producer.
Okay.
And record label.
Okay, got
and then I can't remember. I think it was when we were looking to put together one of the bar bands that we're obviously, that was how we were making money. Ken Greer showed up, which Ken Greer was, the steel player, keyboard player, guitar player for Red Rider.
Okay.
And he brought Rob Baker into this group, and Rob Baker was the drummer for Red Rider. And then we headed off and did some gigs, and got tightened up the act and got more gigs. And then we reached this point in time where we're getting pretty well known in Toronto, because we were writing a bit of music and playing at this place called the El Macombo in downtown Toronto. And that's where you played if you're trying to be an artist or whatever, and which we were, and writing a bit of music, and we got known. And so one day I got a call from our supposed manager at that time, and he said, Capitol Records is interested in you. But he said, but here's the thing, they might sign you as you are, as a band called Red Rider, or if you add this guy Tom Cochran to your band, then you're almost a shoe-in to get signed on a record deal with Capitol. And in the end, we got signed to Capitol Record in Los Angeles and not in Canada, because it was just better for us. But how that worked out is I said, okay, I'm interested. I'm sure everybody else is. What's this guy's number? Can I talk to him? And he said, yeah. He gave me his number. I phoned him, and we were playing in London, Ontario that weekend. I said, why don't you come down to London? And I phoned the club owner and said, we need to, extra time in the club. And he said, you can use the club after your gig or in the daytime before we open. So I said, Tom, come to London, play with us over the weekend. I mean, not on stage, but, after the gig, in the afternoon, etc. And we'll see how everything gels, and then we'll make a decision. So we by the end of that gig, which was 3 days long, I was convinced the guy was a really great songwriter. And I said, okay, guys, what's the vote? And two of the other guys said, Ken Greer and Robert Baker said, yeah, he's in. I said, and the other two guys said, nah, don't want to have anything to do with him.
Okay.
And I said, well, I guess I'm going to turn the vote, because this is a good thing. He's a really good songwriter. So I said yes. The three of us had said yes. The other two guys quit the band.
Oh, just quit. Yeah.
They just quit the band. Yeah. Wow. So no, can't do it. So we got Jeff Jones play bass, Jeff Jones was well known for playing with Ocean and just being a cool guy, and a good singing bass player. So we got Jeff in the band, and we're off.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you about Tom Cochran's background. What had he done before Red Rider?
He'd done a single or two, and I heard them, and I kind of thought they're okay, but not really, what we can do with it. Tom has a kind of different type of voice, and you have to know how to work with that and how to work with the melodies. And so, we worked with him, and I think we did justice to his melodies and his songs and that whole thing.
Okay. We'll talk about some of the gigs or some of the shows that you played. Any memorable ones?
I mean, if you're an American or Canadian, and you could say to people, I played Madison Square Garden, most people know where that is. We used to call it rink rock. We played Spectrum in Philadelphia, Detroit, the Mafia Arena. I can't remember what that was called. I shouldn't have said that. No, it wasn't Mafia, it was other people. So, right. Just all over Chicago. I remember in Chicago, our equipment arrived in Chicago, and I wanted my synthesizer, and I went to our van, and with all the equipment that was incoming to the arena that we're playing there, and a guy walks up to me and says, "What are you doing?" I said, that's my keyboard over there. I would like to take it out of the van and put it in the dressing room and play it before, during the afternoon before the gig. He says, get your fingers off it. Yeah, or I will, take you out of the arena or do damage to you.
Wow.
It's so unionized. I
Yeah.
couldn't touch my own keyboard.
Uh-huh.
We played all over. Actually, I love playing New Orleans. I can't remember the name of the concert hall there, but we arrived in New Orleans at midnight. And I said, guys, I am going to Bourbon Street. And two of them decided to go with me. And we were like two little white Canadian guys with our black Canadian friend, and we didn't know whether any of us should have been out in the street at that time.
Right.
But we left at 12 o'clock midnight, and we were a few blocks away from Bourbon Street, and we walked up and down the whole street and listened to every bit of music we could, till about 4 o'clock in the morning, and then get to bed. It's great. I mean, all kinds of gigs. I love playing in the States. I love Americans to play to. They're more enthusiastic than Canadians. A Canadian at a baseball game when somebody hits a home run. An American at a baseball game when somebody hits a home run. Yeah.
I heard this too. One guy that I interviewed said it's a UK group, but they were bigger here than they were back in England. And he said the American audiences, were so different in the sense that even if you were on a bill, like you weren't the headliner, you were the support group, they would listen to you regardless, and if they liked you, they were enthusiastic.
Yeah.
He said back home, it was the other way around. Everybody was waiting for the headliner. So it was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is the support band, whatever, so they weren't as enthused, that. So he said, regardless.
Have you ever been to New York, Greg?
No.
Okay, it is New York. And New York is like, most people catch cabs because it's not worth it having a car in New York. Because if your car breaks down at the side of the road and you leave it, you probably won't have tires on it by the time.
Right.
It's a brutal city, but it's a beautiful city and lots of character. And before we played Madison Square Garden, we were opening for the Kinks.
Oh.
And everywhere I went during that day, we did interviews, people talked to us, and everywhere I went, people said, oh, what are you doing? Oh, opening for the Kinks at Madison Square Garden. Oh, good luck. I went, why? And all 3 or 4 of these people that made the same comments said they love to boo the opening act off the stage.
Really?
Just, they are brutal. If you are not good, you're going south. You're going underground. After that one, and it was the only gig I paced the dressing room floor before the gig, and I usually don't do that, but I did at that gig, and we finished that set, and the audience stood up, like we were getting an encore, and 5 seconds after the audience stood up or less, they turned the house lights on. We went over well. And that was Red Rider when we had Lunatic Fringe out, and I had the year before we had White Hot out. So we were pretty well known to American radio at that point in time. And we knew, it was a challenge for anybody to follow us up on stage. The Beach Boys should have hated us. And I think they did after a while, because we were getting really good reviews, and we opened for 30 days for the Beach Boys. And we played all over, and I loved it, in a lot of ways. I missed home, but I love playing down the States. It was great. We played all across Canada too.
Yeah. Did you have any kind of socializing with other band members? You mentioned the Beach Boys. Did you get to talk with Brian?
Oh no, Beach Boys were like, they had a clause in their contract. the clause in the contract was, if a conversation is initiated by a Beach Boy to one of the members of the of Red Rider, then you can speak to it.
Oh,
If the member of the Beach Boys has not asked a question or has not continued the conversation, the member of Red Rider is not allowed to talk anymore.
wow.
Do you
I
know
didn't know that.
why?
Why?
Maybe I don't know why. I'm a pretty open book about stuff like this, and I see the reason. Brian Wilson is had a reputation in those days of he had made the mistake of making friends with a couple of people, with strangers. And apparently in those times, he had a couple of times he had made friends. And Brian, you know who Brian Wilson is, right? The keyboard player, main writer for the Beach Boys. Had befriended these strangers, and then they had asked him for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and he said sure, and gave them the money. He's just
wow. Okay.
a genius with just not everything happening, and not altogether didn't know how to deal with the world. So they had to make contracts with people like us who were the opening acts that we wouldn't befriend.
So people wouldn't take advantage of him.
Yeah, I understand that, but I understood that after the fact, because I read about it and had heard about it, talked to a couple of people about it, and that's what was going on. So I mean, that's the way it is,
Well, what about, I wanted to ask you about your Red Rider, the Don't Fight It, the first album.
Yeah.
How did it fare upon release? What did the critics and the audience?
Well, it did great. Don't Fight It, you still hear it on the radio. White Hot, you still hear it on the radio. Sometimes, oh God, there's another song that I heard a couple of months ago. You still hear them a bit, White Hot wasn't the big hit that Lunatic Fringe was on the second album. Lunatic Fringe, I still get royalties for. And it was, it's been used in movies and television shows all over the place. So it's, a big song. It's, unfortunately,
it has traveled. It has.
I got royalties for it still.
And, you played with, this is interesting, band Surrender.
Yeah.
On their self-titled album in '79. Was that after Don't Fight It?
Oh yeah, I played with Alfie Zappacosta for a bit. I didn't actually play on the Surrender one. What I played on was Alfie's first solo album.
Oh, okay.
And now that had some of his great songs on it. Alfie has had I noticed, because we were looking around at what Alfie had done on YouTube the other day, and Alfie is a guy who has written some really great songs, and there must be. I played on one version, I think, of Orlando, and it's all been done before, but he has like 5-7 versions of the same song on YouTube. Yeah. And he's played with all kinds of different musicians. So fortunately, I got to play with them and record with them, and I think it was an enjoyable thing for both me and Alfie. I think ultimately with a lot of these people, what happens is people find out about me as a musician, that I like to write, and that I'm a good singer, and I'm a good keyboard player. And ultimately, the best spot for me to be in is doing my own thing.
Yeah.
So that's how Suitepete really came about, because I was producing a bunch of people. I produced actually a fair amount of people, and I have my 1824 studio right here. I recorded a couple of songs on the 1824, and a lot of people were going, "Hey, you're a good songwriter, and you can sing too, and so I ran across this guy, Doug Ross, who's now my best friend, and he listened to my stuff, and he said, first he phoned me, he said, "I'd like to play drums for you. I'm a drummer." And I had met him, and talked to him a couple of times. And I said, "Okay, Doug, come on over and play drums for me." And he came over and played drums. And anyhow, there's things flicking around on my computer. And he played drums for me. And I said, "Doug, I don't think this is gonna work out with you playing drums for me, because I'm a better drummer than you."
Okay.
And I showed him how, all these grooves, and he was a little bit stiff. So, but I mean, I was honest with him, and he said, "I just want to help you." And he says, "We'll figure it out. We'll do something." So he goes out and buys a recording studio.
Okay.
Yeah, a portable one, and he brings it over here. And now what we do is I start songs on my little 18-track studio, and we transfer him into his bigger studio, and we finish some songs on his studio. So I don't know if you've heard any of these songs. There's a song out there called Karaoke Superstar.
Yeah.
And it's on YouTube under the name Suitepete, Suitepete, right? And it's a good song. It went out to Canadian radio. It's still out there. Some people are still playing it. It's really hard to get play. I mean, I think something like 17 to 20 stations, and that's like a miracle in Canada if you're an independent.
Yeah.
So it's out there. It's got a really small amount of YouTube plays. I haven't really tried to promote it on YouTube, but it's there. Some people like it. It's a good song. It's a good sing-along song. And we're starting. We had to change the name because of trademark things, because there's Suitepete, the comics. Suitepete and the Dirt Dogs are playing some gig, and then there's Suitepete, the restaurant in Florida or something like that. So we changed the name to PeteBo. Which is, my name is Pete Boynton, right? So I just looked around for what can I trademark when what name does somebody not have?
Right.
So yeah, so now we're PeteBo, and we have a song out now, Feel Like a Free Man. And that's the first PeteBo song. We got there's another PeteBo song coming, and we're going to have to keep PeteBo and Suitepete alive for a long time, because everything's going to come over to PeteBo that has been released as Suitepete.
Right.
But we got another release, and these are two very good songs under the name PeteBo. One is Feel Like a Free Man, and now coming up over the next little while is forget the names of my songs all the time. Yeah, there's another one coming, and then after that, there's going to be a very real good candidate for worldwide. People love this song. Worldwide, and that's a song called "Get Up." And at that point in time, we're also going to bring in a publicist to help us out with, because that's really what we need, is a publicist. So we'll see. I'm talking to one major record company, but that I don't want to talk much about, because it'd be bad luck for me. But we'll see what happens over time, with that. And just, I guess the main thing is I keep going, and I'm getting ready now. We're at what are we at, June? Almost May 21, and June 2 and 3. I played the Orangeville Jazz and Blues Festival. So, and that is one of those things that, you know, a lot of people go, oh my God, I guess you're actually pretty good. Because all I do is play piano.
Yeah. Yeah.
At that festival, and play a couple hours of piano. And I do that 2 days in a row, and that may be the last of my piano gigs, but we'll see. You know, I'd like to tour and do my material, and probably play with a band, or I might just play solo, doing my stuff. But I keep going, and I think people should. You know, I'm not a youngster for sure. You say, oh, wrinkles on my face.
Well, I hope Pete, if you play solo, I hope you don't play so low we can't hear you. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Boom, boom. Yeah.
Yeah. You're a drummer.
Yeah. That's my
Want to come an audition?
That's my shtick. Yeah.
That's your shtick.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask you, there is another Pete Boynton, or Peter, an American.
Yeah.
You get confused with him. I think he's an actor.
He's an actor, and he's released some music too.
Yeah.
Hellraiser. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
It was brought to my attention at one time. And
yeah,
I don't know if he's active anymore, but I checked him out when he was active, and you know, it's probably one of the reasons why I went with Suitepete or some other name, you know, rather than use my name as you know, artist, because I mean, he'd already I was going to say done some damage. He'd already you know, done some music under the name Pete Boynton. So
yeah. Well,
you know,
let me
all the
ask
best.
Yeah, is it the other Pete that did the audio cassette, the Three Little Pigs, Little Red Riding Hood, or was that you? Is that you?
Not me. No.
That was him. Okay.
I would confess to doing that if I had.
I figured as much, but I wanted to clarify that. Yeah, because a lot of times these references on the internet are not totally accurate at all.
Yeah.
They will mix, you know, different ones. They'll have like your CV, and they'll include some of what he's done too. So it's like they just see the name, and then they just dump everything, you know, all the experience, and it could be the other guy.
Yeah.
And so I didn't think so. Didn't sound like you, but I wanted to.
There's another thing that people like to do on the internet: lie.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. That happens, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. If you believe this.
Right. See, right. Well, your vocals have been compared a little bit to Randy Newman, and I hear that, but that's not bad company. That's not.
Well, I think with the Randy Newman thing comes from composition.
Okay.
Randy Newman has a very just great way of you know, kind of throwing away lines. It sounds like he's talking to you. Yeah, in some ways. And actually with mine too, my vocals, sometimes people say, you know, it is like you're talking, but I think the Randy Newman comparison comes because of the choice of how you like to, which chords you'd like to use, and what things, you know, he writes in a style that I really like. You know, I've never tried to copy him. No. But that comes up, and I love his music. And shoot, there's another one is Elvis Costello.
Elvis Costello, yeah.
People give me that, and I think that also too. It's not like we don't sing alike at all, but it's choice of chords and choice of you know, how you want music to sound, right? I just can't. I have a hard, but I'm doing it too. I'm also writing really simple songs, as well as more sophisticated things. The challenge sometimes, you know, is always to keep it simple, make it sound simple, at least if it's not simple, you know, make it sound simple, you know. And like, I don't know if you've ever tried to figure out a Randy Newman song, but it ain't easy.
No,
you know,
it's not.
The guy is brilliant, you know. You know who else I really like American? I like PeteBo. PeteBo.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think he's brilliant. And Chris Stapleton.
Uh,
I was listening to him. I wanna listen to Chris Stapleton for a couple of days in a row because I just love how he writes. And
uh,
but I mean, but all of those guys, they make it sound simple, but
right.
try doing it.
Right, do it's a different story. Well,
Yeah.
I imagine you enjoy, you kind of referred to this earlier, the creative control you have making your own music versus when you played in a band.
Yeah, I do. The one thing I really haven't mentioned a lot is producing people.
Right.
And when I guess I'm not well known as a producer, but I produce all kinds of people, a lot of solo acts and stuff like that. And I think I just love doing that and handling the details and how the accompaniment to somebody's song, and how it's phrased and how the bass is how the bass affects a song. And how does the bass make it dance, and how the rhythm section make it dance, and how do all the accompanying instruments, how do they add things, little hooks to songs. So yeah, there's playing with a band, producing a band, and then going to my own music.
Mhm.
When it's my own music and I'm it, like I'm the bass player and the drummer, and I play acoustic guitar. I've hired a couple of guys who really help me out a bit, excellent musicians, but it is the hardest thing you ever want to do in music,
Right.
is be the boss of
Right.
me,
Yeah.
and be me being
Right.
the boss of me.
Right.
Just like, that's a lot of detail, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes, it can get you so that you want to bring other people in, but sometimes when you bring other people in, they don't have the attitude that I do. And it's maybe it comes from producing, but it's always been my attitude to make somebody else sound good. That's why when I moved up here from Toronto, I live in Barrie, Ontario now, and I moved up from Toronto. And that's why when I moved up here, everybody wanted to play with me.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, they didn't want to play with me. They wanted me to play with them, because they knew that I would make them sound good.
Yeah.
And my job when I play with the singers, I don't want to bring the attention to me when I'm playing with that singer. I want to listen to what he's singing, and I want to fill in when he's not singing. So I'm always trying to make them sound good.
Yeah.
And that's my job. But I mean, when you're a producer, when you produce yourself, you got a lot of jobs.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's a tough one. Yeah, but I love it. But especially when it turns out well. But sometimes there's disasters along the way.
Well, what about what's your preference? Composing, writing music, or playing live?
Getting the royalty check.
Oh, okay. That's the
I
bottom
like
line.
playing live a lot, and I'm good at it. I don't want to blow my horn, but like, man, so great. But yeah, things have worked out pretty well with me. When I was playing with a local band, Burgundy Rose, it became really popular. Played a lot of festivals around here, and it's just really good musicianship in that band. I remember a couple of times getting standing ovations from people at festivals, and I was fronting the band, more or less. Everybody would sing a few songs, but I sang most of the stuff. And we'd move people, and that feels great. Feels better than any recording that you could ever make. If all you make recordings for, in a lot of ways, is to, somebody's got this, you may make a bit of money off it, because somebody's got it in their collection, or in this case with that band, Burgundy Rose, actually released a CD and sold 1,000 of them, which is a miracle,
Yeah. Yeah.
and this day and age. But the purpose of a CD or a recording has almost always been, except in the case of Steely Dan, has been to put bums in seats so people will come and see you, right?
Right.
And then you put enough bums in seats and you play your concert and people buy them at the end of the concert. So, it just works out, I guess, but there's nothing like playing live and have seen the reaction of people and they like it. It's just great, really.
Making that connection, right? That
Yeah, for sure. It's all we can ask for is, and that's why we do it. You're exactly right, to make the connection.
Right. So yeah, it's got to be. I know I heard different musicians talk about when they were in a band, the sole focus wasn't on them. It's like they're 4 or 5 members, unless they're the lead singer, maybe, but when you're doing your own thing, everybody's focused, on you, so it's, so it's a little bit different there. And
it's scary.
It's scary. Okay. Yeah.
It's scary. Walk out on stage on your own and to play for people. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not scared. You don't have any feelings.
Right. You still get a little nervous before performances?
I don't know. It's like that. It's just like I'm always going through all the details, right? And if I don't have all the details, I'll go, well, I'll figure something else when I get there. Oh, most of the time I try to say, I like the details. And also I gotta, if you don't do this as a solo artist or a musician, then truth is we gotta do this. Sometimes some songs when I'm playing, I'm doing a show, when I go and play this Orangeville Jazz Festival, some of my solos, I got them down. Yeah. Other ones, I don't have them down. I don't want to try to memorize, a solo for every song in the world. I want to leave those free. And I don't tell people about it, that, but I'm blathering it now. There are moments I gotta have them. I gotta leave it. It's loose. It's open. I just play. I have a fair amount of licks that I can play, right? But it's not like that. I just leave it open. Yeah. And it's not out of disrespect. It's out of that need to improvise.
I was going to say improvise. Yeah.
And so I leave them open. But a lot of the stuff, the reason why I practice to play the Orangeville Jazz Festival is because I want it to be as perfect as possible. Mm-hmm. I want to know all the details. So yeah, that's what we do that for, practice. But there's parts of it that are just like, it's jamming.
Yeah. Right. Well, these are outdoor festivals, right? You're talking about?
Yeah, I'm playing it indoors. I'm playing a restaurant that's an indoor. Probably seats about 150 people, something like that.
Okay. It's an indoor.
Which I'm good with that, because if it's in Canada, June 2nd or 3rd, you don't know.
You don't know what the weather's going to be. Yeah. Right.
No, it probably won't be snow, but it could be cold.
Yeah. Well, you talked a little bit before about Doug Ross. What else has he helped add to the mix?
The guy is the most patient person in the world, and he's really, really good. He's getting really good at being like a sound engineer and editing. And one of the things like that we do now, that's I think it's so great. In modern times, you can copy and paste. You can edit this out. Okay, we don't want the drums in that part of the song. Axe the drums or mute them. Yeah. You don't even have to lose them. You don't have, but you just mute them, and you go, okay, let's hear how that sounds without the drums. You go back to where you took the drums out, and you see how it sounds when the drums are not there. And you can do all kinds of stuff. And he does that now so easily. And he's getting really good at modifying sounds and using different things that aren't exactly effects, but are EQs and I guess limiters are kind of an effect, a thing that's been around for ages, but we're getting more used to using stuff like that and creating better sounding recordings. So yeah, and he's funnier than hell.
Okay.
We have a really good time doing all this.
Right.
Well, I mean, it's serious. I mean, we don't laugh all the
Yeah.
time, but it's not going to be dreary.
Right.
It just can't be. You have to enjoy it. So we enjoy.
He helps lighten it up a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, if he didn't, I'd try to lighten him up, and then probably if we didn't have any fun, we wouldn't be playing together or working on this stuff together. But he's a great guy. And
well, that's good. You do have fun. Well,
really helps.
who else has helped? There's a couple of other musicians you mentioned helping
on. I met a guy named Dale Rivard when I was backing up some guy who came up to play in Canada. It was he came from Nashville. And on this weekend tour that we did with him, there was a guy named Dale Rivard. And there's a song called, you really should check this out if you can, on Spotify. It's a song called She's Thinking. Okay. And the song is, it's a song of mine. It's under the Suitepete name. And Dale plays the solo on it. And if you can find a better steel solo in the world of modern day music, congratulations, because it is phenomenal what he does in like 20 seconds of whatever, 30 seconds of time. It's just so beautiful and melodic, and the song is actually starting to for some reason attract a lot of people on Spotify. Okay. It's called She's Thinking. By Suitepete. And so Dale Rivard plays on a few songs, and not every song he gets the solo. I also have used Jerry Markman a lot, who's one of the great Canadian guitar players, and also used a buddy from Toronto. I know. Yeah, there's a bunch of them, but I just call them every once in a while when I need a little more color on tunes. And there are bunches of tunes I play everything, but I'd rather not, in some ways. It's time consuming to get somebody to come and play or on recording, or I've got to email them, and then they email me back, their instrument. But I love it. If I had more money and things go a little better, I would bring in people all the time. Right.
Well, we'll talk about a little bit about the during COVID, they call it the lockdown over in the UK. What did you guys call it up there? Was it just
COVID? Lockdown, COVID?
Okay. Yeah.
Wearing masks.
Right. Well, so you were kind of for songwriters, in a way, it was kind of a mixed blessing, I would say. You were kind of forced to. There's nothing else you could do. So,
I think a lot of people, it was a good excuse to write songs,
Right.
For me, like, it's a continual process, right? It doesn't matter what's going on out there. I'm going to write songs, and can I tell you one of my best COVID stories?
Sure.
COVID had just started, and they just announced it, and the government in Ontario says, we're going to have to close down some stores, and here's what may be closed. And one of the stores was the beer store.
Okay.
So that night or that evening, I go to the beer store. Now, nobody's wearing masks, but my wife makes me a mask. Right, this cloth thing that goes across my face that have strings to tie up here, and you put a tissue under the cloth. And we're so crazy. We're so nuts about what's this COVID thing. Like, you can't touch anything, or I've got what's a polyvinyl gloves on my hand. So I'm standing in line at the beer store, and I'm 7 people from the front of the beer store, and we're all standing 6 feet apart.
Yeah.
And some guy walks up to me from the parking lot, and he says, "Is the doctor taking appointments?" Right? I got a mask, the polyvinyl gloves. Is the doctor taking appointments? I said, "No, but I'm giving away free rectal exams." And everybody laughs.
That's funny. Yeah, you were one of the first ones with a mask, so
Yeah.
I wonder about that too when that first started. How many instances of they thought they were robbing the store, because they're wearing the mask.
Yeah, for sure.
like oh take all my money.
Yeah. I've thought of it. I could go to a bank now and just go, "What would you like?" "Oh, I like all your money."
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Please.
People going into a bank, that would make a funny skit or comedy, going into the bank wearing the mask when it first started. Well, what other was I going to mention? Oh, do you are you still in contact with any of the guys from Madrigal or Red Rider?
No, bunches of them in Madrigal. John Swainson lives a few miles north of me, and he's down in Mexico now. He'll be back pretty soon. He always goes to Mexico in the winter. Rick Henderson, who lives out Hamilton way. We were even talking about doing a Bob Dylan tribute, but no agent in the world is interested in a Bob Dylan tribute. So we canned that idea. And Tom Cochran, I talk to him like every once in a while. I don't know. That's a tender area. And Jeff Jones from Red Rider, the bass player guy, we're still pretty good friends. So yeah.
All right. Well, talk about some interests, hobbies that you have outside of music.
Gardening, my vegetable garden.
All right.
I'm pretty much a homebody. Okay. I like my home. I like doing music. I like going out and playing. And if I got a house, that I live in, and I need to take care of it. So this time of year, I've got tomatoes and peas and beans and carrots, and I've got asparagus. Do you know asparagus? 3 years to get harvest asparagus, right? That's how long you need to grow it. I've got an asparagus patch in my garden.
Yeah. Oh, I like asparagus. Yeah, send me some. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Right.
I'll be selling it on the street corner. No,
right.
I'll give it away. I'll send you some tomatoes, some nice Canadian tomatoes.
Oh yeah, they get pretty big.
Well, I grow the big ones and the little ones, right? The big beefsteak, and then I get the little cherry tomatoes. Love it.
Oh yeah, like the cherry ones.
Grow some peppers. But every year, like, the garden changes a little bit. I got to mow the lawn. It's just rain, so I can't. But I'm pretty much a homebody. Like, I don't go golfing or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like
no. Did you have to shovel any snow over the winter?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, sorry. We don't shovel much. We blow it.
Oh, there you go. With the blower, the snow blower.
Yeah.
There you go. Right.
Fortunately, I have a small driveway. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I have another guy that I talked to, and he's Toronto, in that same area, maybe a suburb, but he talked about, I said, would you send me a little snow? Because down here in Texas, we may get 1 or 2 days in the winter, either ice or snow, but because of the temperature changes so fast, by the afternoon it's melted usually,
Yeah.
So it's very rare down here. And I said, could you send me some snow? And he said, no, I can't send you some, I'll send you all of it. And I'm like, okay, okay. He's not one for that loves that blowing snow in the wintertime. So yeah. Very
We do,
interesting.
yeah, I mean, it's like I live in the snow belt, what they call the snow belt. So we get lots of snow.
Yeah.
Toronto, it is exactly as your friend says, like it snows and it goes away. And that happens here, but then all of a sudden, you got 2 feet of snow out there, and
Yeah.
if you're going to go anywhere, you got to get the snow out of your driveway and then hope that they get it off the street.
Yeah, right.
It's just a mountain of it. But I'd rather be here. I'd rather be here than in the big city.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I know my neighbors, I'm happy. My backyard, I look out onto a farmer's field. And that farmer's field is not part of the city of Barrie. I'm right on the town line. And I looking at that nice green cornfield every summer and watching it grow.
There you go. So it's pretty picturesque there, would you say? I mean, there's some nice landscape in your area.
I suppose so. I mean, we like it. It's like anywhere. There's always good countryside to go and see things. Do what's going on here? Here we have we have a great big beautiful Lake Simcoe, and it's a gigantic lake. I guess you probably, I don't know if you know that in Texas, like some things about Canada are not really well broadcast, but we know it here. We have more fresh water here than anywhere in the world.
Okay. Okay.
And, we have just north of here, we have this beach. It's a white sand beach, and it changes, and it's getting worse because the water table is getting higher. The beach is now smaller, but it's the longest freshwater beach in the world.
Is it?
Okay. Yeah, we're talking fresh water, right? Not there's a difference between a freshwater beach and obviously a beach on the ocean. That's saltwater beach. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good things about where I live. And if I had a home in Texas to go to in the summer, I'd be a happy man entirely.
Right. The grass is always greener. Well, tell us real quick, one more thing. What are the gold records behind you?
These are one here is Don't Fight It.
Okay.
Red Riders First, and next to it, in between, there's a single. That's actually, I think that's I Believe in Sunshine, the single there. Okay. And then which is the Madrigal first recording I ever made. And the other one is As Far as Siam, which is Red Rider. Yeah. And it's has a Lunatic Fringe on it. Okay. On that, so there's a platinum one over here too, and that is the platinum version of As Far as I Am. Okay.
Yeah, I always thought that was a creative title, As Far as I Am. Yeah. As Far as I Am, As Far as I Am.
Yeah.
I thought that was.
Gee, Tom, that's brilliant.
Yeah, yeah. You're in the band. Yeah.
Tom Cochran came up with it. It was like, okay, yeah.
Okay.
You're a genius, Tom.
Right. All right. Well, Pete, can you think of anything else you'd like to add?
I'm here. I think I'm grateful. It's nice to talk to you, Greg, and I'm here. Really, I'm still going. And that's the main thing I can say to people. If you think you can still do it, then still do it. And I guess the reason I'm still going is because I can I know in a couple of weeks I'll go and play this jazz festival and have a great time doing it. And and there'll be lots more stuff coming up too.
Okay.
So I just keep going, and I think people should. And if you're not so young person like me, and you're thinking about quitting, quit if you want to, but there's that option. If you can still do it, then do it. Keeps you going, keeps you healthy, keeps you active, keeps your brain working.
There you go.
There's a song, actually, I was just watching, I'll be quick, because we're probably about at the end here, but there's a song that I just wrote, and I got the lyric for the hook watching a Katharine Hepburn documentary. And the last words in that documentary were a guy saying Katharine Hepburn was a woman who lived by this kind of motto or whatever. She says, get up, do it, live.
Yeah.
And that's what she was like. And she lived to be 96.
Yeah, she did.
And she was still active and doing stuff. She retired, but she was still doing all kinds of stuff in her 90s.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Right. Well, Burt Bacharach, 94. He lived a long time.
And he just passed away, did he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, not long ago. Yeah.
Sure.
So yeah, that's true. Stay young. Stay young in spirit anyway.
My voice sounds like that's one thing that happened with me and Cochran when we were talking is he says, he says your voice still sounds good. And he says that's one of the things about us, that really, if you stay reasonably healthy, it's going to sound good, your voice.
Yeah. Do you take anything for your voice, honey, or anything?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't believe in that stuff. I've had my Doug Ross has, said to me a couple of times, you don't want to warm up? And I go, no, you need to warm up. I'm ready. Just saying. So I do. Yeah. Anyhow, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much. And
well, thank you.
Yourself.
Yeah, I
Keep in touch.
appreciate it. Will do. And I'll let you know once I have this edited, and I'll send you a link, and then you can post it on your social media. And
I'll do that. Yeah,
let everybody know.
YouTube and whatever.
Yeah, let everybody at Tim Hortons know. Yeah.
Tim Horton was my favorite hockey player.
Okay.
He was a great player.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyhow, have a good one.
All right, you too, Pete. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Greg.
All right, I'll let you log off first. So
how do I do that? Oh, leave.
Just leave me. All right, bye-bye.